本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。
I miss you.
What's good, Internet? It's Friday, April 23rd, and you're listening to Waypoint Radio, episode 391. I am your host, Austin Walker. I am joined today, as always. Patrick's here, Kato's here. We're doing Mortal Kombat. Rob is here. Rob, are you part of Mortal Kombat?
No, I don't have Mortal Kombat.
Hi, Patrick.
Kato picked up.
Is it? Wow. Okay.
See, you know, this is jazz. I put it out there.
Yeah.
Kato picked up what I was putting down.
Thank you, Kato.
Thank you. So everyone else, Rob is looking at me as Rob. I've built a Plex server. Zachney is looking at me like I've lost it.
Oh shit!
You're targeting a lot of our listeners by saying that building Plex servers is weird.
I kept thinking with Can someone please modify the Blu-ray cover of was it I built a zoo? We've built a zoo. Where's that fan? Where that put Rob on there?
We bought a zoo.
We bought a Plex. We built a Plex.
We built a Plex. So Nate, why are you Mortal Kombat today?
The new movie is out. I think it'll be out as of when this podcast comes out. Right? That's out
Probably.
this week.
I think so.
Sure. I didn't know you were so hyped for it.
I'm not. That movie sucks.
Great. Wait.
I've been living with cursed knowledge for weeks now. The fine PR folks at Warner Brothers weeks ago were like, "Do you want to interview some of the seriously sent me a bullet point list like here is all of the characters in this movie. Like let us know who you want to talk to." And all I really wanted to talk to is the screenwriter because I find that the process of adapting seemed like the most crossover with our audience. And they still booked me with the director even though I wasn't. No offense to him, just wasn't that curious to talk to him. But they were very insistent that I watch the movie beforehand. I was like, okay, fine, I'll watch your new Mortal Kombat movie, and then finish it. Was like, why did you? No, the interviews would have been better if I didn't go in with the knowledge that I don't think this movie is good at all. Look. There's a reason they keep putting out watch the first 7 minutes. This opening fight with Scorpion and Sub-Zero because it's the best part of the movie. And then who's excited to watch 90 minutes of when a sequence finishes, someone go down a checklist of the iconic catchphrases of Mortal Kombat and put another one of those in there. Someone's going to say fatality.
Someone's excited.
I will say
I was excited for that in the first movie 20 years ago or whatever.
But that movie, so Mortal Kombat's mythology is both part of the reason it works, I think, and why it has endured. It is it is self-serious. It takes itself extremely seriously. It considers mythology to be connected. It's something you should care about. And yet also it's a series in which when you do an uppercut properly, one of the programmers appears out of the corner and goes, "Toasty." It's also very over the top and goofy and has this sense of humor about its own self-seriousness. It's a tone that I don't think they intended to draw, but it's one they just kind of stumbled into out of the weird creative mess that was making that game. I have an interview up on the site this week with John Tobias, the co-creator, who doesn't work on the series anymore, but he was formative and he came up with Scorpion, Sub-Zero, all the characters you know and love. He was a lot of the artistic creative force, while Ed Boon, who is now the chief creative force of all of Mortal Kombat, was a programmer. Did a lot of the nuts and bolts of building that game alongside John, and so I chatted with him about the legacy of the series and the weird mythology. And that first movie, I will argue it's a good movie because I think it captures the weird tone. It is appropriately goofy.
Yeah, I love
it is appropriately self-serious. I'm sorry, but whoever comes after Christopher Lambert playing Raiden is just it just sucks. He is just such a fun. Everything about that movie was fun and goofy and weird, and it's probably hard to watch now. I don't know where that movie lands unless you live in Nostalgiaville, and can fill in the gaps on it. But this movie is way more really serious and doesn't have the same moments of levity. The fights just aren't that fun. The characters aren't that I just didn't. Bleh. It doesn't even explain itself properly. It's just a wet fart. It's just wow. This was a cool. You watch a cool trailer and then you realize, oh right, like they cobbled the cool trailer out of the movie, and like that's like about all there is. So it's a bummer. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine.
I am as a big Mortal. I was the kid biking down the street during Mortal Monday, when which is when they used to declare when the different Mortal Kombat console versions would come out. And I just distinctly remember my friends and I imitating the commercial for Mortal Monday, where the kids are on a bike screaming like Mortal Monday to get you prepped to go be a consumer and buy that. My friends did
the Paul Revere's of
hell
Illinois.
Yeah. And so that game is as close to my heart as any series is growing up. And I wanted this to be good, and Goro's just a big CGI mess, and bleh.
Should they just buckle down and made a cool martial arts movie with lots of blood?
This movie is plenty violent. Like, the violence is not like the problem. It's tough because I don't know. I'm not a film critic. I don't know how to judge like the fight core. I just know that I didn't have like a good time. I got to the end. I watched it with a bunch of people. I was like, all right, let me get I'm like the game nerd. Like, maybe I'm going to be like more hypercritical for some reason. And I will say the audience of like complete normies that I watched it with had like a really good time and said, oh, I came out of it going like, well, that sucked. And then everyone else was like, what are you talking about? Like, that movie was totally fine and enjoyable to watch. So maybe you'll feel the same way, but those were also...
I'm sitting here realizing though, like, having watched The Raid 2 recently, I'm like, I'm not sure there's a lot of room for a Mortal Kombat movie to go at this point beyond what's happening in martial arts spaces already.
Yeah, I don't know if this movie's going to blow you away on the, like, the fight choreography, but even just the I don't know. They don't even explain, like, Sub-Zero shows up and he's shooting ice blasts out of his hands, and they're like, why? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just what he does. Like, here's the Jason Voorhees of the film, Sub-Zero Stomp, which could have worked. I actually thought that was...
That's a good pitch. See, you're selling me.
It's a good pitch. But
I don't need to know why Sub-Zero does fucking ice blast because
don't worry,
magic.
They spend the rest of the movie explaining why people have powers, and it fucking sucks.
That's something I don't need explanation for.
I don't need that. I don't. Because
I will just accept. You show me guys with powers, I'll be like, yeah, that's right.
No, like, as Shao Kahn and the other people from Outrealm are invading, like, our main man Cole, he needs to just get in enough fights so his inner Cole, he's not a character from Mortal Kombat. He's
damn it.
They invented a new character.
You don't need all the characters.
There are so many characters. Pick one.
They went for the we need an audience surrogate route.
Liu Kang is the audience surrogate.
Yes, Liu Kang is relegated to the sidelines in this one. I mean, he's there, but he's not there. And actually, like, he plays second fiddle to Kung Lao, which, like, look,
also this is all
respect to Kung Lao, love the throwing the hat, but Liu Kang is Mortal Kombat. I'm sorry, like, that he is Mortal Kombat.
And they're not doing any of the modern game characters, right? They're not doing any of, like, the MK11.
No, but they are, like, freely like Cabal is in it, so they're pulling a character from Mortal Kombat 3. So they are, like, kind of pulling characters from, I think, most of the first 3
Cabal
games.
is a weird pick from 3. I guess that makes sense, though. I guess that's
sort of. I don't know that you, like, polled a bunch of Mortal Kombat fans. Like, who do I need to see in my new Mortal Kombat? Like, Cabal is
are any of the robots in?
Yes.
You don't have to say who.
Why'd you say that so grimly?
No, because there's a couple of them.
Right. There are a couple of them.
I was trying to. I don't remember which one. There is one robot. And what was the one I was trying to? There's another character in there. I was trying to. I was going to say I'd much rather see Baraka than
Baraka's not in it from MK2.
No. Was Baraka in Annihilation? I can't remember.
Baraka was in Annihilation. I believe.
Baraka looks fucking cool. Like, that's a character I want. Like,
yeah.
Chop him up.
Noob in there?
Noob Saibot? No.
There is a Ed Boon, John Tobias shout out at some point of, like, the winner of a tournament was, like, I don't know, Boon Tobias or something.
That's just Noob Saibot backwards.
I don't know. I can't remember what the actual, but, like, there are just, like, multiple moments. This movie is so proud of its references. Like, there are moments, like, I've seen screen captures where there are, like, really subtle Easter eggs. Like there's like like graffiti in the back of a fight that shows like, down, right, forward, and like how to do a move. And it's like, that's cool. That's fine. Like if you're going to do an Easter egg that you're not going to notice during the film, that someone is going to have to capture it in the background. But then it's just, like the film is so proud constantly that it's like, huh? Like, yeah, like the movie stops like on a dime when it has a reference to like dole out, and it's like zoom, like right up to the character's face, like here it is, Mortal Kombat fans, what you've been waiting for.
How is the stuff of just like, like one of my favorite things about Mortal Kombat as the first movie, but also just in general, is the way that it's like playing in that space of like Enter the Dragon or Bloodsport or any of those like those martial arts movies about like a big tournament.
It's not. There's no a game series about a tournament. No tournament.
Right?
No tournament occurs.
This is what this is kind of what I was getting at. As I was like, I just kind of want Bloodsport with Mortal Kombat characters.
Yeah. Like put these characters in an arena and use their cool. And there is like a pseudo like the premise of the movie is that Earthrealm, and this is pulls from Mortal Kombat mythology, like has lost the tournament 9 out of 10 times. If they lose again, then like Outer Realm is allowed to invade and Shao Kahn gets to take over. That is like given, they don't like even try to explain. Like, it's just like 7 sentences at the beginning of just like a huge mythology dump that just like does no table setting whatsoever. I remember reading it and being like, oh shit, like they're really, the whole context of this world is just like, and it's like, good luck. Here's the rest of the movie.
What's the point of having an audience surrogate if they're also going to lore dump you? Do you know what I mean?
I think because somehow this movie is like afraid of its mythology without realizing that it exists in a world in which Mortal Kombat is now quaint. Like when the Mortal Kombat movie first arrived, I think part of the reason it leaned into the humor, other than being that's tonally consistent with the franchise, is because like this is before superhero movies, comics had taken over pop culture, in which Mortal Kombat were like a bunch of like normal people like are going to cross over to another realm, gain superpowers in the process, right? Is that, I forget, do they have them before they go to the tournament in the first movie? It's been too long since I've seen it.
They don't really have them after even.
I can't remember.
They just
Either way, like you go to a tournament and there's a Goro and like a ruler. Like there's like a kind of a cell. You're like Mortal Kombat is essentially a high concept comic book in that regard. And so I think the goofiness was to try and sell the audience and like you have Christopher Lambert like showing up going waka waka, I'm Raiden, and like it works. Like I really enjoy his character, but now 2021. Like I mean, comic book movies are there's the thing on every week. Like they're getting weird. Like Shang-Chi is coming out. Like we're digging in to like the like B, C, D level characters, and that's not a qualitative analysis. That's just like in terms of pop culture awareness. Like you can just really start telling stories about characters with different bases and much far out their concepts. Guardians of the Galaxy is like an extremely popular film franchise with a talking raccoon in a tree. So Mortal Kombat with like a guy who shoots frozen blast out of his fist is not like. Sorry, Mortal Kombat, like it's not that big of a deal anymore. And so I think that's part of where it missteps is not even having enough confidence in the world that it has and just like leaning into that and more that it does feel like it needs to have an audience surrogate that kind of takes it along. And I don't think it needed to. This Cole character, who is, mild spoiler, like there are some connections.
Of course.
It's I will say it's not secretly like a character Like I thought that was one of the theories going in of like, that's Liu Kang. Like it's not that. But there is some connective tissue. But it just didn't need that. And I think it would have been better served by just having. Even if it wasn't Liu Kang, like, Sonya is a perfectly fine, like, surrogate character. Like, there are all these different ways they could have gone or even started in, like, Outrealm and, like, done the perspective of Outrealm invading. I don't know, like, there's different things they could have approached, and instead, you just, the guy playing Cole, like, doesn't give much to work with. Like, it's not really, like, it's not his failure. Like, his acting, like, he does fine with the material he's given. It's more just, I don't buy into any of the stuff that his character, I don't care about the family he's trying to like, it's just none of it is just, it's just blah. Like, I just want like, show me the big fight and like the cool powers and I'm good. Also, this is just modern me, but like seeing big CGI Goro sucks. Like after like big goofy ass puppet real life Goro from the first one. I know that doesn't work anymore maybe, but
Why?
seeing
It
Why
does.
doesn't it
I'm
work?
just-
It works.
I think it could. But just having like looking up clips of that and how now it holds up in the way that a lot of like practical effects, like, yeah, it doesn't scare me or like intimidate me anymore, but I buy into that fight with Johnny Cage a lot more than I buy into the fight that Cole has with Goro, 3/4 through the film. So this is one of those instances where, look, it's on HBO Max. You don't need to go to the theater. It is perfect. Like opening up a beer and watching this, you'll be just fine. I just like measure your expectations. I've seen a lot of people like really stoked for this movie. Like I think if you just go in with just like dial down a little bit what you're thinking you're gonna get, I think you may have a better time than I did, which was like going in thinking, like watching that trailer, which is a really good trailer, and being like, fuck yeah, give me 2 hours of this, and then got out and went like, oh no.
Yeah.
I got 2 hours of that.
And that's it. Oh well. I don't know. I feel like there's totally. Here's my actual second question: is that movie second out of 1,000 we've already asked?
Please.
How campy is that movie? Because the other thing about the original Mortal Kombat movie is it was somehow both gruesome but also very campy because it was playing in that
which is Mortal
space.
Kombat. Mortal Kombat is
totally
campy. It is quintessentially a B movie in that regard, and it tries to have those moments, but I just don't think it strikes I don't think it walks the line there at all. Like there is goofiness, the one, like probably the best thing the movie does is picks up the spin on Kano from the original, which I only realize, this is probably long known trivia to other people who've like read up on the original Mortal Kombat movie, but like him being like a goofy Australian in the original Mortal Kombat movie was not like written into the script. The actor they hired all of a sudden was like, I think this would be like way better if I was Australian, and they just went with it, and they carry that forward into to this movie. And so Kano is the highlight. Like he is genuinely funny and weird and an asshole, and has like some of the best they have fatality like equivalent moments in the movie, and his bits are the best. Like if they just want to jettison all the other characters and they just made a Kano with the Mortal Kombat mythology's Kano, like I'll go follow that guy. Like I'm good.
That's an achievement given what an asshole Kano has been in the story up till now. So
and he's an asshole in
Congrats.
this one too. But I at least I don't know. I found his character like he made me laugh, and
Right.
That wasn't happening as much throughout the rest of the movie.
Thank you for bringing us this blockbuster update.
You're welcome.
I know none of us are going to go. I was Googling information about this movie, and it said it's in theaters in my neighborhood, which is weird to think about.
Yeah, it opened up in theaters internationally like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think.
I don't think this is the one. This isn't the one I'm going to risk. I'm not going to
I need
risk
to get
it
that
for-
second jab.
Yeah.
And
then
slip
any
that
bad
bank.
movie, I'm ready. I'll watch all the worst movies.
I've been trying to figure that out because I got my as of Saturday. My wife will be 2 weeks into the second jab. I got my second jab on Monday, so I'm on the glide
You're on the
path.
track.
And I've been trying to.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I was like, Black Widow, let's go May 7th. I'm gonna be ready. I delayed that to
Cancel what
July, whatever. So
Are they
I'm
going
not
to do
ready.
a late release of Snyder Cut in theaters?
I'm gonna fly out.
I'm not
I'm
seeing
gonna
that
fly out
movie.
to. I'm gonna fly out to Boston
my
and go see
God.
Snyder Cut with Rob. That'd be so good.
It'd be very funny.
Rob and I will pay
Oh my
$150. We will rent a theater to ourselves. We will get pissed drunk, and we will watch Snyder Cut by ourselves. And it would be a theater by ourselves, so we could be loud,
God,
not
breaking
just
each
like,
chapter break so we can just like re-up the beers.
I'm going to the bathroom, Rob. I'll be back.
Oh man, that Aquaman scene. I gotta run to the John real quick.
Well, don't worry. It'll be 45 seconds of like,
Ancient
I'm gonna hit the bathroom.
Limitations will be playing. Yes, absolutely.
That's part of the experience. I can't leave the theater for that.
I need to be there for every Ancient Lamentation. Each one. Speaking of Ancient Lamentations, Nier Replicant has hit. Every song in that game has a secret vocal track that will come in and surprise you and will.
That soundtrack has been banned from my both
What?
my 4-year-old daughter and my wife have asked me separately, turn that the fuck off. Like, please.
Whoa.
Wow.
It was like I love the Nier soundtrack too.
It's
but
great.
if you are not playing the game, and for just 2.5 hours, you're just hearing loud choral arrangements.
So what is it? Is it like Thomas Tallis style? Like
we need to pull up a clip. It's not.
Yeah.
The last time I attempted to sing a choral arrangement into the podcast, I was rudely mocked for my attempt to do.
Well, it doesn't really work at all because without the harmonies, like literally the
and I don't. You know what? I'm podcast. You can hear in my voice. I've been podcasting a lot at this point, and it just I don't have.
Normally, Austin can do his best.
I would nail
Nier
it. I'm a great vocalist. But I think like if you're like hanging around the village, right? You're just hearing Song of the Ancients over and over again, right?
Song of the Ancients is a good pull.
Here we go. I'm linking it, Rob. It's great. I'm just gonna leave this playing in the background as we talk about Nier because it makes my heart swell. Anyway, I that's unfair to you, Patrick.
No, yeah, it is.
I get it.
It's unfair
also
to Nier.
Their house.
Look, everyone. I put on the PlayStation. Like it was. I get it. I was like, yeah, you're right. When I step back and think about this music is purposely repetitive. Like it is a lot of like very similar sounding. I get it. I was like, all right, fam, I understand. Like I'm going to sit here and play my Nier. I will put these headphones on and you can continue on without your day. But no, it's a great soundtrack and it's a great, how far? Okay. So now the game is out.
The game is out.
I am.
This is for the record. This is Nier Replicant square root of 1.5. AKA Nier Replicant versions
1.22 whatever
474487139 ... Nier, AKA Nier numbers, right, Kato? Yes. Try to make Nier numbers catch. We'll see. And
how far are you?
I am.
Let's say I do want to say
there's an easy way to say where I am,
certain things about the plot that like will be hard not to talk. We're not going to like spoil.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil.
We'll treat it as a new game.
Weird.
But there are certain things that I think we will like. If you want to go in totally like, just jump ahead. It's a good game, and like if you,
I'm enjoying it. The non-spoilery thing I'm going to say is that like it's so interesting coming to this after Automata, where this is such a more traditional fantasy game setup. Yes. In terms of its RPG-ness of just like you're in a village and you're doing quests for people in the nearby village.
And this person needs some
villages
logs.
Nearby.
Go get some logs.
Exactly. 100%. Right.
How much iron ore you got?
And I know that like in some ways it felt like Automata was like, I'm just going to say Automata because I like how it feels in my mouth. Yep. I know I could be saying Automata. I refuse. In
this podcast is
you know what the difference between 20 whatever that game came out and today is? Fuck it. I'm gonna say it the way it feels good to say. I've been beaten down. I'm on the fucking ground. I'm gonna say Nier Automata because it feels right. Okay. That game immediately is like post-apocalyptic. You're a weird military super agent being sent to the planet to fight aliens or whatever, you know, and the ways in which that unfolds is pretty quickly.
Beat the shit out of these sad robots.
Yeah, beat the shit out of these sad robots. I do think the robot design in Automata is better than the ones
like
no offense to the,
god tier robots in Automata.
Yeah, that's just, it is what it is. But the versus here where like you really settle into a very traditional pastoral fantasy like story.
Well, you're also part of a place, right?
Yes,
whereas you are an outsider
thing.
parachuting. Yes. Into a place, like quite literally from a space station,
in
parachuting
Automata,
into a place in that
Whereas
game.
Here you're like a little bit outside the village, but you're part of it. You're doing
like when you're doing side quests
for people.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like you're doing like Automata is a little more rote in that like, well, here's a random person I can talk to, get a quest for them, go do the thing. Whereas this, like, I mean, it still is that, and the quests are good writing, but like far less interesting things to do in this game. But you are part of a community, and like. Often I would feel an obligation to do the thing or to look up whether I should do the thing according to several flowcharts that people have sent to me.
I'm doing it all. I'm just
I
can't
understand.
not. And people should jump ahead at this point so we can talk about side quests and talk about that stuff. People should jump ahead. People should
and you
listen.
Should play this.
Don't
play Automata yet. Play this, then play Automata, and like play 2. I'm not like ready to declare this a classic alongside everyone else because I'm only 20 hours in, but it's very good, and you should definitely play it. This is a good, and from what people like Dia are saying, authentic feeling update where like it's not sacrilege to the original work.
Right,
I
we
think
should say Dia has her review up on the site.
Yeah,
You'll
it's
see
a
the
very
Nier
good
Replicant
review.
Beautifully updates a classic oddity, but can't replace it. So, that's...
Well, and
that's-
Dia pulls apart the complexities of what it means to be a remake. But I do think like the broader takeaway is like, you don't have to like feel bad for playing this one. Like you'll be getting a lot of the core experience of that game.
So the where I am is I am through the desert area,
Yeah.
the
masked
big
people.
desert dungeon, the masked people. I've done that dungeon. Which is like the first real. That's not the first real dungeon. That's not true. There's there's other places before that I guess I would classify as dungeons. But that's like the first like puzzle filled one, where there's all these rooms that have little puzzles to do. Basically,
Oh,
There are
there's rules where it's
to
like,
how
hey, you can't jump here, you can't
Right.
roll here, you
and
can't
I like
attack
that
here.
stuff. I like that a lot, and I finished that storyline. So now I'm back, and I'm like getting ready to go to the fourth big area of this kind
The
of
Forest of Myth.
the Forest of Myth. Yes, that's where I'm
Which is a
at.
good name.
And so actually what I'm doing is cleaning up more side quests because I'm just doing them all. I'm gonna do them all, Patrick.
Well, and also I want to give this I guess this warning if you're still listening, because I gave this to Austin. This game, well, Dia put it. I feel like Dia put it really well to me in a DM when we were chatting about the game. It was like Nier feels like a PS2 game that just happens to be on a PS3 and an Xbox 360. And this game does a lot of quality of life improvements, but there are other things that it doesn't touch. And one of the things it doesn't touch is like there's a moment where let's call it a big event occurred. Well, no, there's a time jump.
yeah, there's a time
point,
jump. So
right?
we know
You
there's
go
I know there's two voice actors for the main character because
there's a
time
young
jump.
version of your character and an older version of your character, and
And we're not talking about we're not talking about there's the there's the brother version and the dad version. I'm saying literally the
Correct.
brother has two different ages.
Yes.
It's like a Link ages up to be adult Link.
right,
or like
right.
Slightly young adult Link versus boy Link or something.
And there's a moment where this occurs. The game does not forewarn this. And then if you go through the events of that, a time skip occurs, and then you lose all of the side quests from the beginning, except for a handful of the only ones that carry are in order to unlock certain extra endings. Like one of them involves collecting every weapon, and like you can still do those carry over over the time jump.
That makes sense.
Anyway, but I was just bummed because I wasn't going to do all of those side quests, but there were a handful that I know had really good dialogue bits.
Did you do the lighthouse lady one?
I did do the lighthouse lady.
Okay, that's good.
The ones I
whole
didn't
arc is
do
good.
was Devila and Popola, where you're like trying to get them to sing at the bar.
Oh, you didn't hear
and
them sing together? It's nice.
No,
Yeah.
I was bummed I did not get to hear that. But
Yeah, so now I found a guide. I'll note, if you just do a search for side quest guide Nier, you'll find one that's very complete and that says what if you do a Google image search, I'm saying, you'll get like a big single image that's like, hey, this explains where the grinds are, where there isn't. It's absolutely written by a 4chan person, which means that there's like a homophobic slur in there.
What the fuck?
And also it's
it's
very
like very-
clearly a 2010 4chan
yes,
V, like it's
Right.
it's there it is. This is it. this is what this part of gaming culture was like. Though maybe, I don't know, this says it's from 2017, so maybe those people are still corny as fuck. In 2017, probably. I don't know.
but if you go to my Twitter account, I asked like a week ago, like which side quest should I do, and people replied like with those images as well. And like the short version is what people said is, well, some of the side quests have some decent writing, but ultimately you can kind of skip all of them, and it's more or less like how much more time do you want to spend in this world? Whereas it seems like that's counter to Automata, where I think some of the best writing in the game is in the side quest. Now that is it has a similar issue to this game in which it's buried under like rote like quest design, which is like the actual quest part is not fun or engaging and is actually actively working against the player wanting to see it to the end. But the writing in like there's I remember like specifically like one of the ones in Automata where like there's the robot that's at the top of like a tower and it's like contemplating like committing suicide. Like that one was like one of the most affecting storylines like in the whole game. But like nothing about the quest design around that was like
You're just going up there and talking to this person.
And this game is even an even worse version of that, or a more rote version of that. Like none of that is addressed here. That stuff,
is-
even even like I saw recently, someone was like, this game has atrocious grind for certain items, especially if you want to like upgrade the weapons. And I saw like someone had done an interview with either Taro or I think Saito is one of the producers on this. Was like, hey, did you like maybe like quality of life, like address the drop rates of items? And they're like, absolutely not. Nope. It's like, that's the kind of thing you should have changed.
No,
in
fuck
the
it.
update.
No, if you're gonna want to, I had to do all those fishing quests. Those trying to get the fishing down out the gate requires you to bat your head against it and get those 10 sardines. And that's a lot of sardines.
Every time I would get a non-sardine, I would scream.
So fucking mad. So mad about that. I mean, the thing is, did you realize you needed to go get lugworms?
I looked it up. So this game,
yes.
I have like steadfast, have the iPad next to me. The moment I get a quest, I look up the mechanics of the quest because, I mean, I explained to you, I like when I got Austin a code and it's like, all right, I need to catch you up with
you
what
were
I've
like,
learned.
Let me prep you. Yeah.
I was like, I need to give you a couple of tool tips that I've learned the hard way. I'm like, one of them was fuck gardening, but if you have to do it, realize that it's real time. And that if you're just running around the open field thinking like, why do these wheat seeds not seem to be growing? It's because you straight up need to come back the next day. And that
I'm glad you told me that because now I've enjoyed it where I'm like, okay, I'm about to start it or I'm about to end a session. Let me go check in on the garden.
Plant those seeds.
Start a new day. Oh, hey. Yeah, water them all. It takes forever. You're not doing...
There's no water all 16 spots. It's like, dunk.
Well, and it's not even like
you just have to watch the animation every time.
You don't have to. You also have to use a menu on each individual tile each time. So in a world where lots of people have played Stardew Valley now, it's just going to be like, oh, this fucking sucks. But I love it because I love signing in and being like, all right, what grew? What do I? And like you make bank with that stuff. That stuff sells for lots of money, and it's the only thing I know how to. I'm confident selling because I mean I've had to have wheat for some quests. But other than that, it mostly like I can sell these. I was going to say a pumpkin, but I also just needed a pumpkin for a quest. I did just hit a point where I had sold a melon, a pumpkin, and a watermelon, and immediately needed all three of those for a side quest. But you know what I'm saying? Like those are things that you can just replace by growing. You don't have to grind them out in combat somewhere. Or
you just grind the progress of time.
Exactly.
And you can't do the system clock manipulation anymore, which you used to be able to do.
Did they get rid of that?
Well, I presume with a PS, can you just like change the
hour? You can probably take it offline and change the hour. I bet you could do it.
I wonder, because that was everything when I was reading like how to speed up gardening in Nier. It was a lot of people like, yeah, bro, just like go to the system clock, change it 2 days, boot back into the game, and like, boom, you've got a full garden full of shit. And I was like, I don't know if you can do that in the new machine.
The other thing, I mean, one of the weirdest things about playing this game is that it does not have the following Automata did, which means that things like, hey, can I sell this? Is kind of a hard question to ask. There is not like a table. I forget what I was playing recently. I was playing something in the last 6 months, let's say, some RPG where I just straight up pulled up a list of how many of these do I need to hold on to, period, for crafting in this game. And I'll just keep it at that number. And anything less than that, I can sell and feel good about selling and not worry about needing to hold on to. And that just I cannot find a thing like that for the original Nier because the audience just is not that big.
I think that'll spring up. Unfortunately, it'll probably happen by the time you and I have like finished the game.
I'm throwing myself at it pretty heavily. I might just grind through it this weekend. We'll see.
And but also the thing that I find, so like what you need money for in this game primarily is like if you're going to collect all the weapons are extremely expensive. Yeah.
And you get most of them from buying. It seems like you do get them.
A lot of them. Like I've gotten
some from quests, you get
some from quests. You'll find some out in the world. But it seems you'll get to a vendor that sells weapons. Like here's 4 weapons. It's like $16,000. Like I don't know if I've ever had $16,000.
You gotta get on that farming grind. You gotta get on that farming grind.
Yeah, I haven't messed with that at all. So that's probably I'm gonna play 30 hours of this game and then spend 5 hours like just going to sleep, waking up, and planting 16 seeds. But the one thing I'll say is like the weapons don't matter in this game at all. Like it is purely, at least I have found, not even functional, just aesthetic. Was like, I think I'm gonna switch between a sword And well, what do you have in the early game? You can
You
switch
only
between-
have that light sword. I know there's
Just
a
the light
two-handed sword. You can check the controls early on, and it's like, hit this to switch to your spear. Hit this to switch to your
Yeah, when you grow up, you
two-handed
get
weapon.
access to a spear and a two-handed weapon and the sword, and you can switch freely between those. Not quite like a Devil May Cry where you can be mid-combo, but you can kind of switch between them in the flow of combat. But it just doesn't fucking matter. Like, pick the weapon you like and just kind of stick with it. And then when you get one whose power is like higher, equip that one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this game is full of systems that are super interesting sounding, right? Like, if I was to tell you, all right, Patrick, so when you get a weapon in this game, not only does it have a story attached to it, but if you want to power up certain attributes, like, more experience per attack, more magic associated with it, you don't just like put a gem, you attach words. Words have meaning in this world. And that sounds really interesting. And so you realize, like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like it doesn't
2% damage. That
Yeah,
is
it's like-
I guess that adds up against like the bosses aren't like that. The fights aren't. I haven't fought very many things that are just like, this is just a big ball of HP, and so that extra 2% adds up over time.
It's only
mostly
against the giant shade. The shades are the main enemy.
the shade that's in between the village,
the northern
and
plains.
The
yes.
the
northern plains. Yeah. No, I know which one you're talking about.
The village and
yeah.
seafront, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Blood is sound, and sound is words, and words are power. Patrick, I wrote this down as soon as that fucking book said it. I was like, that seems important. I'm gonna write that down.
Instead of complaining about how the weapons and all the special powers that you get also don't matter, just equip the fist and the
fist. Yeah,
I like the fist is really good because it knocks them on the ground, so it disables them, and the lance and the pea shooter, the one that just shoots the regular bullet hell shots. Like, everything else is, I don't know. Do you want to use another one? Did you know you can also equip words to those?
Yeah. I've equipped words to everything.
Why? And also give me an option that just equips it to.
There is.
Just,
if you go to the far right,
you have to do it individually per attack.
Individually,
and then if you get a new one, you have to go back through. So then I just
want
don't.
Auto words. You just want the same way. There's an auto fight, which is like a great feature that there is in this game. There's like automatic combat, just like there was in Automata.
Wait, what?
You don't know this?
I can just have bike. I don't have to fight in this game.
Yeah, you can just run around and make the computer fight
actually
for you.
Really?
prefers playing it that way.
What?
Yeah,
Because
apparently
apparently,
it's really
like,
good.
The automatic combat, I think she's going to write about this, actually. The automatic combat, it's not just that it's on autopilot, but like it becomes really stylish, and you see Nier turn into much more of a anime dervish type character. Just like, you just sort of position them to see what kind of like sick fight scene you want to see unfold, and then all hell breaks loose, and it's cool.
Wait, what?
That sounds great.
When do they explain that you can do that? Is that
It's all in
story-wise?
I don't think so. It's just in the options. I'm still the person who goes into the options and looks at everything first as soon as I get a game.
Oh.
And so it's just in there as auto battle. And there's like, I want to say there's a bunch of sub options. There's also lots of like, there's just a lot in there in terms of setting up how you're doing your fighting.
Okay. Anyway, fuck all that. Like the
important thing
characters.
is the
point is the
fucking
characters in
whip.
this game are incredible. Like, like Grimoire Vice. Like the voice acting in this game is really good. Grimoire is a fucking such a.
How did we not name
That's
our
our
website? See,
name. Fuck.
I know, that's what I'm saying. How do we not name our website Grimoire? And now that would be a different world. I guess because we're all fucking fake Nier fans who didn't play the original. And if we had, we would have known to name the site Grimoire by Vice, and everyone would have.
Grimoire.vice.com, yeah.
Grimoire.vice.com. Different spelling because it's white. It's WEISS, but still.
We used to collect domains. Like, let's kick it back up.
Let's pick it back up. Let's get there. Grimoire Vice is great. Kaine is incredible. Kaine
is so good. I have not seen.
She's so good.
I knew she had a following, but mostly that was like if you make the mistake. Well, mistake is maybe the wrong term. If you just Google image search Kaine, you will get a lot of sexually provocative.
If you do a search for Kaine, you get American lawyer and politician Tim Kaine. Is what I just learned.
All right, well, Kaine Nier.
Oh no, you're right. If you go image search, you're right. The second you get image search, you're good.
No, she
it's
dominates.
A mix of the two, which
you
is
get a little bit of Tim
mix.
Kaine, and then you get a woman in lingerie who whips ass and also
shows ass. Also shows ass.
Whips ass, shows ass, and then just swears like a sailor, and it is
worse than a sailor. Sailors learn from Kaine. It's real 2007 angry video game nerd. This woman is inventing new slang, new ways to insult people.
Well,
it's great. I love her.
What was the one that I tweeted one recently ahead of the embargo? I was like, I'm breaking embargo. I'm gonna tweet a swear from this game. I'll look it up while I'm thinking. Yeah, shit hog. It's just, and I don't mean to like overreact to the fact that like this character swears, but like she just has such a strong personality, makes such a strong impression out of the gate, and it's specifically the dynamics of these characters and how they play off one another. That is, I don't want to speak for like diehard Nier fans, but like seems to be the enduring legacy of this game is this this coupling, this group of characters, and how well they like hearing. I don't know that in 2021, constantly hearing Grimoire Weiss like call her a hussy necessarily like plays as well.
No,
anymore.
it does because he's a piece of shit. And
yeah, I guess.
And like I don't. She is not a
like the eighth time though. I don't know that I need
I've not
to hear
heard it that many times. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you just want to spend more time with the characters, which is what's going to lead you, Austin, down the path of
course,
doing like a fishing side quest, because all you want is just like
a little more
minutes
character
of back and
interaction.
forth between these characters.
The best thing about the fishing side quest is each time you go to fish for one of the side quests, or like you get to the fishing spot, there's a running gag about Grimoire Weiss like learning how to shut the fuck up so he doesn't scare the fish away. And each of those like dialogue drops is very good. And like, now that I have kind of like in my party, so to speak, it's like, okay, I almost wish I had waited to do some quests to see if there would have been a Kaine audio drop also in there. But like that stuff has been really fun. It's just fun to have a third person there to be like, or this like weird collection of weirdos, traveling the countryside, fighting monsters.
And yet they like all really care about each other. Like the, as you learn more about like the, I guess you haven't gotten to some of the Emil.
I've not met Emil yet. I know Emil's coming up. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Emil
just has section. Like just just a really sad story, and I now. Like, look, if you want to understand the mask, like Yoko Taro's, like the mask that he wears, like why this became like an icon, like that you see everywhere, like play this game and like you will learn about Emil and like fall in love with Emil and feel sad for Emil. And it's one of those games where like every time I talk about it, then I'm learning how much more I like it as I discuss like the things I like about it. I just really like the world, but it is one of the things where, playing it's fine. And this is a decent update. It makes it more approachable than it would have been if they just put out an update. But
this early on, at least, I do feel like I missed some of the Automata combat stuff. It's just been so easy out the gate in terms of like, there are parts of Automata that put me on my ass immediately. You go fight
none of that changes. You're not
master.
Gonna,
and that's fine. But like, and maybe it's just because I'm like not a full-time character action person that Automata was able to do that to me. But I think about like the defending the parade stuff at the beginning of like it really pushed me to be good. Even some of the stuff in the later half of the game, I was like always trying to keep up and trying to learn how to maximize my combos, and like I'm just like not doing any of that here. I think the magic stuff is really fun. I think having all the different blasts, and like I've been like tinkering and playing with stuff. I think that I really like the one that lets you like soak in the incoming red energy and shoot it back as a laser. That's really fun.
The one where you get an area of effect that the enemy that's in the area, then like a clone of you goes around and slashes them.
That stuff is cool.
I just wish the game gave you justification for like it's always I just like to do something different for the sake of doing something different, as opposed to traditionally in character action games, like the reason you have an expansive roster of weapons and special attacks is there will be sequences in which it makes sense to use them, and too infrequently there's never any reason to switch between. Like once you settle into, well, this is fine, I now better understand why Dia just like sets up the anime combat and like lets it rip. Because if you're not willing to personally put in the investment to make it flourish because you want it to aesthetically flourish, the game is not going to ask very much of you just to get the health bars down. And even the occasions where you're fighting like a really tall shade that you can't do much damage on, the game really seems to just be telling you should come back in like 6 hours when you can meaningfully attack this thing, and then you can take it out and get whatever elite drop that it gives you.
I before we move on, we should take a break. I do want to say like the high point of this for me is both the characters, but also just the sense of space and like the feeling of lingering here. It's such a strange game in so many ways because it feels like a 2010 open world RPG by a team that maybe had not gotten like there's no interesting systems work happening here in terms of open worldness. There aren't people going about their days in any sort of like systemic way. It's very much
but there is a side quest where you fight a boar, and after you fight that boar, then just occasionally when you go out into one area and only one area, a boar will be laying on the ground and you can ride it. Isn't it only in the Northern Plains?
No, there's one there's also one between Seafront and
okay.
But the funny thing about that boar is you have to go through lots of little canyons, and if you're not careful, you just slam into the wall and knock the boar out. But you can, if you're drifting on the boar using L2, you won't crash. You'll just slide up against the walls, and so you're like pinballing through this little canyon. I think those are the only two. I really wish there was one in the desert. That desert's big, and I wish there was a boar for me to ride across it on.
Yep.
I love the masked people. That stuff is good. So anyway, the character stuff is good, but like there is just I do just love being in this world. Like even doing the repetitive fishing stuff, even doing the like, I'm going to go grind 10 goat hides for this quest is like, okay, I just like being in the zone for a little bit. And maybe in those moments, it becomes a really good podcast game also, where it's like, oh, there's just like nice music playing. I'm just grinding for a little bit. And it's so rare that a game is like, I'm taken enough with a game and its world that I want to grind. Or that I'm happy to grind through a side quest or something like that. That is just a repetitive get 10 things.
I just wish it wasn't all of them.
I also wish that.
It's all of them. Like totally. Like every single side quest.
Or their fetch quests. Or their run to these 4 people and just say
the
one
most
thing.
The most interesting quest design that they have is there's a series of deliveries where you can't roll. You can jump.
Fragile. You can't get hit on your ass either.
And you can't get hit.
You can't get hit, period, in fact. It's not even on your ass.
And occasionally, if you get too close to like just an innocuous goat, they'll get aggressive and hit you. And like that's broken. And like at least that gets me to
now.
You navigate the space differently, right? Like you're
Which
thinking
is also
about
the thing
what's
with
in
that one
front of
dungeon
you.
where that's like, hey, in this one room you can't jump or you can't roll.
Right.
More of those restrictions. Those restrictions are always really good in terms of like adding that tension and making
when it's almost the game
a little differently.
I feel like it's the game recognizing its own limitations and like the borders of its like design scope and like working in that accordingly. Because in the dungeon where they have the rule sets, well, those they also have plenty of areas where you just like push boxes for no reason. It's like none of that stuff like works after the 7th time. And but yeah, the world and characters are so compelling that I don't think people will have you'll have motivation to get through that stuff. Yeah. And really, it's just if you look at the arc of this to Automata and whatever, Taro's working on next, like the leaps and bounds, like he's like made as a designer and a storyteller and a world builder, just like, it just makes me really excited to see what happens.
I'm very curious
after this. But so there is so much consistency, but it's just interesting to see.
I mean, that's the other thing I will say is that like coming from Automata, you're like, okay, Automata is very much echoing at the very least what's happening here visually and narratively, but also just like the places. There's a place called the Airy that you go to, which is these like it's much more beautiful than the Machine Village from Nier Automata, but you can see this touch of them, these cylindrical houses where people are inside, and they have this very they're very closed off when you get there. And you're like, okay, what's going on? Which is kind of an inverse of the Machine Village in many ways. Or the exploring the desert and coming to the masked people, and you're like, okay, hey, what's up with the masked people? How are the robots who wear masks from Automata an echo of this? There's a lot happening there that I get. I do get why people who are like Nier evangelists came to Automata and were like, why did any of you, if you like this, why didn't you like this? Why didn't you like this thing when we were yelling about it? And so, sorry to those people. I like it now. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk about some non-Nier stuff. BRB. All right, we are back. Hey, Rob, are you still playing Judgment? Are you still making progress in the underworld of? How's it going?
It's going really well. So I actually had a sequence unfold in that game that really might have got me to like all the way in on Judgment. And it's still an early game sequence. So like early game being relative, I think like 10 hours in or whatever, like, or like 8. But okay, so as I talk about this game, I'm just gonna start lightly spoiling it. Like if you don't want to hear anything about Judgment at all about what happens, like it's gonna be impossible for me to talk about this game because like
I just a few years ago, I'm curious. I'm curious enough to where like I'm so much in that position of like I need a spoiler to get me interested enough to find a space to play that game in the future more than I need to not be spoiled because I know I'm going to play it in the future. Do you know what I mean? I need the hook. Hook me, Rob.
The one of the cool things that they do right at the start is like any Yakuza game, it takes place in Kamurocho, and it is it's a town. It's a part of town that's sort of overrun by. I thought you were saying it's Italian, and I was like, it's not. What are you talking about? No, but it's a town it's sort of run over by the Yakuza, and one of the things about your character is that Yagami was never a member of the Yakuza, but he was kind of like the adopted son of the head of the Matsugani family. Sort of a small, like it's sort of a low-level underboss that runs this neighborhood. And so he exists in this interesting place with regard to the local Yakuza clans where like he is he's neither fish nor fowl. He is adjacent to the life, but he never swore any oaths to the family, etc. But he does have like a regular style obligation given that he was taken care of by the family. Yeah, he was adopted as a teenager. After you learn later, one of the reasons that he sort of needed to be taken under wing by the family as a teenager is that his parents were like brutally killed when he was a young teenager. Also by someone connected to a case where Yagami's lawyer father had gotten an acquittal. So this theme of like Yagami's life being marked by acquittal and then like horrifying side effects is sort of a thread through his life. But in the opening scene, like your first time you got on the street, basically you run into this local capo, basically Captain Hamura. And at the time, so the way I describe him is very Dennis Leary-esque. I would say just in his affect and demeanor, has one of those real like smokers faces, real craggy, and kind of just a mean motherfucker in the way he interacts with folks. And he doesn't seem like anything special though. He seems like such a bog standard mob archetype that like I didn't really like. I figured like, okay, he's just like kind of the antagonistic asshole who is part of the local Yakuza clan, and he has a little like he's distantly respectful of Yagami. He ends up being the first guy you have to defend. He ends up being like implicated in a slaying. It's a bad case against him, and you sort of prove that there's no way he was actually the killer. But by the end of the case, Yagami's also started to suspect that even if Homura didn't actually kill this murder victim, there's a lot of evidence to suggest he knows who did. That it's too coincidental that he would be that closely tied to the murder and not have some connection to the serial killer who's behind these slayings. So the next part of the game is Yagami starts digging in and is trying to figure out like what is Captain Homura up to, and he's warned off by a couple people like, case is over. Homura doesn't want you digging into this any further, and eventually you have this like wild night where you go and get Homura finds you trying to question a witness and just kicks your ass. And it's sort of a light beatdown, just a little roughed up, very Private Eye type stuff where like, you get a little pop in the jaw if you keep digging into this. You know what happens in Nosy Fellas, right? And you immediately go to the local boss of the Matsugani family, who's effectively your adoptive father. And Yagami's like, hey, Homura and I are butting heads. And this guy, who's kind of the one you expect to have your back, says, I actually can't do anything.
Ooh.
Because I've lost control of the family. I'm a figurehead. I just don't have, like, if the family has to choose between me or Homura, they're going to choose Homura because he brings in all the money. All the dudes are loyal to him. I'm just still here as a mark of respect. But effectively, I'm like emeritus godfather.
Huh.
And then one of Homura's guys comes in and tells Yagami, Homura wants to see you. And Yagami's like, well, we're not finished here. And you're the godfather kind of says, actually, we are. Homura is summoning you. You got to go. And you go meet him for a sit down at a crowded restaurant, and it's sort of a cliche moment, but it's very cool. You sit down in a crowded restaurant, it's a public space, and Homura's like, you just don't seem to get it. And I understand you're a tough guy, and you don't like lessons don't really sink in until they're beat into you. And so he's like, so you got to understand what you're dealing with here. And at that point, he pulls out a cigarette lighter, holds it above his head, and lights it. Restaurant goes dead silent. Everyone stands up and starts filing out. And you're alone in the room with this guy suddenly.
Jesus.
And then the back door opens and a bunch of his goons come in and they just start wailing on Yagami. And then you are taken out back and they start fixing to like actually kill him. Like Homura is like telling his guys like, Yagami isn't getting the message. We just got to kill him now. So you have the big Yakuza knife fight in a phone booth type punch up. It's cool. You have to kick a lot of dudes' asses. And it's a pretty vicious fight. Like it's like there is a feeling of Yagami is really taking damage over the course of this. And at the last second, he's saved by this sort of the parkour vigilantes who've been running around town. One of them saves his ass. But you have an entire night now where you are just trying to get through Kamurocho, and everyone is out on the streets looking for you. And so you're just like sort of running around town trying to like duck between crowds of Yakuza as they're trying to hunt you and try to kill you. And so it's this realization of like, this is so much more dangerous a world than initially appears. That like the thing that you sort of started the game with, which was this assumption that, well, whatever happens, Yagami is still like an honorary member of the Yakuza, like they have his back. That connection is actually really perilous for him. And there's no real recourse for him once he gets into like butting heads with Homura. And so that's kind of where the game has left off here, which is that Homura is out for blood. Yagami is kind of in this race now to figure out like what is Homura's actual connection. Can't go to the police. Obviously, they don't care about what happens. Here's the funny thing: your best ally, like your sort of best informant, a bent cop. Like there's this guy who's like, look, I'm a bad cop, but I'm a good detective. And so basically he has become an information broker where he's like, there's a lot of things the cops won't investigate, but he likes solving the cases. If he's solving them for criminals, it might as well. He may as well. So he starts putting together a lot of other threads. And so I'm at like the game now is kind of opened up where the case is much bigger. The cast of characters and what they mean are all pointing in different directions. And we're starting to get into the deep lore of some of the relationships of these characters who surround Yagami. And so his buddy, Kaito, who's very much like, what if Kiryu was the sidekick of a game? Like, what if like Yagami's best buddy is effectively like a Kiryu with the serial numbers filed off. But he's like been sort of sent out of the family in disgrace. Yeah, he really is like Kiryu. But yeah, he's been sort of unjustly kicked out of the family. And so one of the cases you have to solve is like, what actually happened with that? Because he was basically framed by Himura for being a fuck up. And in the process of covering up what he'd done, Himura committed a pretty brutal murder that has scared the shit out of other members of the Yakuza family. So like Himura goes from being this completely like minor character in The Sopranos to being like a terrifying, not mastermind, because he's too direct and vicious. There's nothing oblique about Himura. It's just like kind of raw power and aggression. And that's kind of what you're up against. But there's also fun goofs in the middle. And this is kind of where I talked the other week about like, I didn't like the tonal shifts. As I'm putting more time into this game and I'm realizing like this is a long ass game and these like a single play session pretty effortlessly fills like an hour where you see it complete like part of the story. I'm realizing the whole game's kind of paced more like a TV show. Like you have
totally. Yeah.
You have your main plot episode and it gets really heavy. And then not too long after that, the game will often throw something comical in your way. And you go spend like 20 minutes doing something really low stakes, like same mechanics, but like really chill. And so that's kind of the rhythm it's falling into. And once I'd sort of made that connection, I'm like, I'm actually more okay with this because I think it would get more exhausting if it was nothing but like Yakuza crime epic paranoia. That would be a bit of a grind. And also I think the game is actually better at doing these tonal shifts than say, like any Ubisoft game. It feels like you'll just stumble into Wacky Town sometimes, and it's so broad and so charmless that like it doesn't really provide the same feeling of like that was a fun little escapade. Here, there's a lot of bits. Like I had a Phoenix Wright style mock trial because at the law office used to work, the secretary was convinced somebody was stealing the pastry she bought from a special store. And her buddy, the junior prosecutor, was just swinging by on other business. But she gets sort of dragooned into being the prosecutor in this case. And they're like, Yagami, you got to prove that the young lawyer here isn't a cake thief. And so like you have a whole very self-conscious send-up of a Phoenix Wright game where you sort of got to crack the case and prove why that wasn't possible. And, you know, after night of being on the run for my life against the Yakuza, that was a fun subplot.
Totally. I'm glad that it's clicked completely at this point. It feels like you're in for the long haul at this point, that you're gonna finish this before anything else swings by to demand your attention. I'm happy for you, Rob. I'm very happy for you. Kato, are you able to talk about anything that you're playing? Or
No.
are you also deep in embargo territory?
Yeah, that's where I am.
Sorry.
Certain
Okay. Well-
games coming out soon in a week.
Uh-huh. Well, we'll have to check in with you in the future.
Yeah.
That wasn't like, I thought about like finding a word that would like tease what you're playing, but I didn't come up with one. I just said check in as if that was
Yeah, that's a
some
thing.
sort of
That's
clue.
yeah, sure. That's a clue. Figure that out, listener.
figure. Instead, I think we should probably just take a dip in the question bucket and send this one on to the weekend afterwards, because we got a lot of questions and a lot of comments. Rob, you missed a little bit
this week.
I've cast so many pods this week. I still have a Friends at the Table episode to work on today, and then a Patreon thing for tomorrow. It's fine. It's the job. It's the gig.
Yeah.
gaming@vice.com is the address. One of the recurring things that we've had is people talking about weird places they've played games. You missed this one last week on Monday, Rob, but people had sent in some pretty fun places, including like working the lights at a live theater production during a WoW raid. I don't know that these live up to that, but they're very good still. Jeverage writes in and says, "Hey friends, also not an MMO, but one autumn I worked for a local farmer couple who made a maze in their cornfield. It was me and a bunch of other late teens doing rotating shifts, sitting in a shack selling tickets, which didn't happen often because nobody came. But on the week of Halloween, they had all of us come in at once and sent most of us out into the corn maze at night and in costume to scare guests. No further direction was given, so we all just kind of split up and found our own hiding spots in the vast maze. As before, we had almost no actual visitors, and I had recently rediscovered my old GBASP in the closet. So there's me at about 10 p.m. in full darkness, dressed as the Grim Reaper or whatever, and sitting cross-legged alone in a cornfield playing Super Mario 3. That's the whole story, Jeverage. I respect that. That would have been a fun thing to turn the corner in a corn maze and see. Just the Grim Reaper playing GBA.
Yeah.
How's it going? How you doing? Brian writes in and says, "Hey, Waypoint crew. I just thought I'd chime in with my stories about gaming in places where I shouldn't, as solicited in episode 388. Not an MMO, but hopefully a fun one all the same. Like Gita mentioned doing in 389, I too have played games in lectures. The one instance that comes to mind was early in my time at university. I was studying education and at 8 a.m. Monday morning lecture, which was quite early factoring the hour-and-a-half travel time. That's brutal. Oof. As a result, some mornings I was quite drained. After a particularly grueling weekend one time, I declared, screw it, I'm going to play some FTL, a decision partially motivated by the fact that a classmate had attended 0 lectures and was getting HDs. What is HDs? This is a European
half days?
No, it has to be some sort of grade.
Huh.
Because the thing that follows after this is I figured I could take a week off. So that means must mean you're doing pretty good. I have no idea what this could mean. Anyway.
Half demerits.
I was getting half demerits, maybe?
I don't fucking know.
I don't know. Anyway, whatever that means. This person, Ryan, figured I could take a week off. I proceeded to sit down in the lecture and play through a failed run, quietly whispering explanations of what I was doing to my friend next to me. Unfortunately, despite sitting in the same two seats that we always sat in, that week, the course coordinator was sitting directly behind us. She said nothing until the end of the lecture, where she pulled us aside and quietly told us to strongly consider why we were in that course. I thought it was funny at the time. She may have had the last laugh. My friend dropped out at the end of the year, and I transferred into a media and communications course, completing my honors last year studying actual play shows, and I'm starting a PhD in a similar area this year, so not quite FTL, but hey. Anyway, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Honorable mention to the lockdown last year when I had a Zoom wedding and a Discord server D&D game scheduled for the same time, though I decided against trying to attend both. Keep up the good work. You have to Three's Company it, and that's if you have a Three's Company situation cross you, I feel like you have a responsibility to try and hit it. Also, Patrick left, by the way. I should note.
Yeah,
we've heard Rob. We've heard Patrick had to go take care of family stuff. Everything's fine. We knew he had to bounce early. I think if you have a potential, especially in a Zoom situation, which is a low stakes situation. Mm-hmm. I know weddings are important. I don't know how close this person is to the wedding, but there is some Zoom weddings where I'd be like, and it also depends on how role play heavy this D&D game is. But if you're just in combat and you have to type in a Discord chat that like, hey guys, yeah, I'm gonna do fireball. Like, I feel like you could do that. Just mute yourself, or even if it's a call, just mute yourself on Zoom. It's fine.
Nobody knows how computers work. Just say that your camera isn't working. Fucking mute the whole thing.
Say your camera isn't working.
Right? Turn it off.
Camera isn't working. Sorry.
But you're still there.
Wait, sorry, Kata. Why is it important that your camera?
Well, because then you can act. You can have this depends on where you're doing it, right? Like I guess were they both Zoom calls?
No, it was a Zoom and a Discord.
Zoom and a Discord. So in Discord, you have your camera on, and you can like act and talk to.
You be like, I'm a wizard.
Yeah, like you can make motions or whatever.
Are you in full wizard regalia in this scenario?
Yeah, you're doing cosplay while you're role playing. Obviously, doesn't
You
everyone
switch
do
up the
this?
things and you're like, I thought this was a costume wedding.
I thought you.
Not enough people do costume weddings.
Yeah, honestly.
Please don't start doing costume weddings. I don't need any more fucking anxiety about going to weddings. All right. Let's take a dip in the food bucket here. Gene writes in, "Hey, Waypoint crew, I definitely had some food opinions, but after the water glass email, I knew I had to present the argument that caused strife between multiple friendships. You are sitting on a couch. You ask your friend to bring you a Pop-Tart. They say sure, and bring you a single Pop-Tart removed from the wrapper and not heated up. Is this acceptable? Is a request for a Pop-Tart only a single Pop-Tart from the wrapper, or the pair from the whole wrapper? Is it okay that it wasn't toasted? Or is it assumed you want to have it heated up? Like if you ask for toast, you shouldn't just get a slice of bread. Please keep up the great work, and I hope it doesn't cause a divide that, in my friend community, Slack caused us to add an automatic response to Slackbot when someone brings up Pop-Tarts. If needed, assume that this is from a box and that there are other wrappers still left, or other, full units of Pop-Tarts."
Language, words mean things. Toast means toast because we have bread and toast, two different objects. Pop-Tart and toasted Pop-Tart are two different fucking things.
Yeah, but Pop-Tart has pop in it.
No,
it's not. I'm not going to win this one.
Not this
Do
time.
you have any idea? Like, I've actually
yeah.
eaten way more cold Pop-Tarts than hot. Like,
Yeah,
it is,
I don't like them
100%.
hot, but you're right.
It's also
I think you're
dangerous.
right.
I wouldn't want to. This shit is molten. The inside of a
You
Pop
feel
Tart,
it and you go, "Oh, this is warm. I'm got to be careful at this point."
Yeah, I know. It's just like I wouldn't
The coolest
automatically
effect.
assume
Surprise.
anyone else wants to deal with that unless they ask for it, or like I would ask.
That's the actual
as
thing.
the
You can
host.
toast
I would
an untoasted Pop-Tart. You can't untoast a toasted Pop-Tart.
exactly. I would definitely ask as the host, be like, "Do you want that heated up, or you just want a cool one?" Right? Like you don't think ahead.
I think the host's responsibility is to follow up.
Yeah.
I think that's correct.
But I don't think it's so egregious to receive just one.
I also don't think I'd
like,
ever be in a situation where I'd be like, "Can I get a strawberry Pop-Tart?" I just not that sort of guest household.
Maybe they were talking about Pop-Tarts. Maybe it made sense in context. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I could go for one of those right now." But we're talking about Pop-Tarts because of some other shit. It's like, "Oh yeah, I got some. Here, have one." But also, absolutely,
Do you need?
Would
the
only
host
have
says,
one.
"Do you need anything? A glass of water?" And I go, a brown sugar Pop-Tart, please.
I mean, if you know
I feel like that's a
someone,
weird
if you
situation.
know someone's pantry that well, I feel like that's a situation where that's probably chill. Because otherwise, I'm not gonna be randomly asking for like, "Do you have XYZ's popular snack?" Like. Like I know you got them s'mores
do you have
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts?
You gotta share.
I don't like the s'mores Pop. I don't like the s'mores Pop-Tarts.
My favorite is definitely still the strawberry.
My favorite's
That's strawberry
cherry,
shit.
which is not as widely available. You can't get those from
So
like
the
my
pink
bodega does not
frosting?
have cherry. Huh?
Like that's the pink frosting ones.
The pink frosting with the
Yeah.
red little things.
Those are good.
I like that more than I like strawberry, but strawberry is a classic.
Yeah.
I like brown sugar, but
yeah.
I can't. Don't want to get a double box. I never get a double box of those. Ideally, those are things I get. But my brown sugar Pop-Tarts is 2010, 2011. I'm at CalArts. I don't have much money for food, and also it's 1 a.m. because I'm working late.
Mhm.
But there is a food or there is a
Vending
snack
machine?
vending machine, yeah, and that has a single brown sugar Pop-Tart. This will be dinner for $2 or whatever.
You know some rude shit
also
about
too much.
Pop-Tarts in vending machines is when they put them on the top row. Like, really?
Yeah,
You're gonna
fall and drop
you're gonna
them.
fucking break my corners for me? What the fuck? Put that shit at the bottom.
Not fair.
But then
Not
people
fair.
can steal it. That's why.
I like that you dropped your voice there to sound like a PSA, but then people can steal it. Or actually, you sound like an unsolved mysteries guy at this point.
Did I have a stick affectionately called the stick that could get anything from anywhere in the vending machines when I worked at school? Maybe. Did my friends
Wow,
all know
we're
this
learning
and
about
ask about
Tahoe's
the
criminal
stick?
history.
Look, we were poor.
How'd you not get caught?
It was like 1 a.m. No one was awake. I was the security
They-
guard. Security.
Oh, it was an inside job.
Exactly.
You're the bent cop from fucking Rob's Judgment game.
Yeah. Oh.
Are you okay? Well, were you providing for other people using?
No,
the stick?
absolutely. This is what I'm saying.
Oh,
like
I love
everyone,
this for
people
you.
knew
I love
about the
that you
stick. They could come back
infiltrated
and ask about
the
the
cops.
stick. It's like, yeah, here you go. Here's the stick.
Wait, did people come up to you and say, "Hey, you got
Yes.
the stick?
You got the stick? Can I get the stick? I'm like, yeah, here's the stick.
Ambiguity there.
The ambiguity is sure.
Yeah.
It
No,
speaks
don't worry about
volumes. Well, honestly, congrats to you. I'm just shocked that the vending machine person was not like, this is not the take. The take is off every fucking time. We have to move this vending machine or something.
I don't know. But I feel like nobody was paying that close attention. Also, it used like funny money, fucking like school bucks or whatever was part of it. So like the actual cash in there wouldn't always line up. They'd have to like go against like school records of like getting payments out. So like,
Sure.
who knows who
Right.
was comparing those
Sure.
things? They were just refilling it, you know?
Good point.
That's fine.
Good point. Jackson writes in and says, Dear Waypoint, custodians of the food bucket, the recent episode's generous emphasis on food bucket discussions has been a trip, and it's inspired a bit of reflection on my own culinary eccentricities, all of which rose from either one, a desire to eat something late at night where there are no, where I'm guessing there's no one else and only God can see me. And then two, a need to eat something cheap because a master's in folklore was not cutting checks. The confluence of these circumstances led to my long-standing guiltless pleasure, peanut butter ice cream, in quotes. Of course, I'm not talking about peanut butter flavored ice cream, which is delicious. I'm also not suggesting you dump a scoop of Skippy in a bowl of vanilla and whip it together into some sort of mixture, though maybe. I literally just shove a fuck-off tub of crunchy Jif peanut butter in the fridge and eat it as a snack. Which, yeah, I acknowledge isn't too far beyond the pale, but I'm not finished. When I scoop out a spoonful, I recommend a tablespoon, I drizzle honey and hot sauce on the peanut butter before taking a bite. And I repeat the process until satiated. This horrifies my loved ones. They try to explain to them that the combination of texture, heat, and sweet turns out to be a pretty bitchin' snack, a culinary delight, in fact. But I'm too busy navigating my alchemist set of Costco-sized wildflower honey and artisanal hot sauce, so I wind up making my point pretty poorly. My setup is pictured below. I definitely recommend a more viscous hot sauce. Thinner varieties like Texas Pete don't do the job. I'm going to find this image. We have to see this image. Oh, I didn't. Okay. Ooh, okay. Here's the setup. This setup is, we got Jif, extra crunchy, as reported. We got Kirkland wildflower honey. This is not one of your fancy honeys, Rob. It's not one of your out there honeys. And Melinda's creamy style ghost pepper wing sauce and condiment. Jackson adds, all of this is to say, what weird snacks and treats have y'all made for yourselves? I've never done anything this weird. I feel like this is so much weirder than anything I make as like a little treat. Does anyone else have any like weird DIY late night treats?
Hold on. So I have to ask for clarification here. Do you know, is this fridge or
They said fridge, not freezer.
right, this is
So it's just cold.
just cold
Peanut butter.
Peanut
cold
butter with-
crunchy.
ghost pepper wing sauce. Shit.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah.
Like ghost pepper sauces.
That's
I mean, I get maybe this
strong.
is maybe it's a very limited, like maybe this is stolen valor for ghost pepper sauces or something.
Just
Maybe
say
I don't
creamy
know.
style. I don't know. Maybe it's been diluted enough.
Yeah, it does have
Um,
5 peppers at the bottom of it though, or it's 5 flame symbols.
Right. That costs 5 red mana to cast.
Exactly.
I don't know what to feel about this. I feel like there's a world where I would try this. The ghost pepper, I feel like I'm just like weary of because how hot it is. But otherwise, yeah, I think I see what they're
Do you
getting
think
at.
the honey and the peanut butter could cut that heat enough to be?
I think the honey
pull it
definitely
in a
will
different
help.
direction. Yeah.
I think
I wonder
it'd
how.
probably cut it, but also I think like hot and sweet are good combos. So like
Yeah.
it's just kind of a ratio thing. Like I could imagine that being pretty good. It really depends on how oily the sauce is. So like how much does the heat build?
Right.
Because that's what'll get you with a lot of the sauces. But yeah, I'm not sure this is a real ghost pepper. Or like I'm not sure that the ghost pepper is the starring player in this sauce.
Sure. Does Jif have sugar in it already?
Yeah,
I feel like it comes up every time we talk about peanut butter.
yeah. So it's you're probably
I would
getting like
imagine.
that honey flavor on top of like the really sweet Jif flavor.
It probably helps with the
checking
heat,
for
but
you.
also makes me want to try it less.
Yes, does have sugar.
Mm.
Correct.
I mean, here's the thing. Like,
Mm.
I am all good. I fully support, like, especially when you're living on that budget. You know what? If that peanut butter hits that like, I am satisfied, I am full button.
Yeah,
That's the
true.
button you want to hit. And so, like, mistake I would make is I'd be like, no, I should try to make something more nutritious, et cetera, but I'd be like really hungry,
Right.
Because like it turns out a sandwich made of cheap ingredients wasn't really getting me to the point where I was like, I'm actually satisfied because it didn't push those buttons. So like, absolutely send a big old like sweet, proteiny, fatty, delicious peanut butter to get that job done, and put a little complexity on it with the sauces.
Now, this doesn't really count as super weird, but I have, and I want, because this is like mixing two things that you normally don't, wanted to shout out that if you enjoy Mountain Dew Baja Blast, have I got the recipe for you? 2/3 Mountain Dew to 1/3 blue Gatorade. Thank you, TikTok. I forget the TikTok user that shouted this out, that Baja Blast is literally just Gatorade.
What's the effect of this?
It makes it
This
Baja
is
Blast.
less carbonated. Oh, wait, but you're saying just regular Mountain Dew,
Right, because you can
plus
only get
what-
Baja
I
Blast
got you.
at fucking Taco Bell, and sometimes,
I
as
got
I
you.
learned 3 days ago when you're listening to this,
Yeah.
Taco Bell sometimes won't deliver soft drinks from their fountain. You can only get cans, and they don't have fucking cans of fucking Baja Blast.
Sure.
So you try a little science experiment and say,
Yeah.
you know what? Mountain Dew does taste like Mountain Dew Baja Blast does taste like Mountain Dew with blue flavor. So what's the bluest flavor there is? Gator blue, the
Hop.
dark
Mirror,
blue
mirror
Gatorade
on the wall.
specifically.
Who's the bluest? Yeah. Great.
And it fucking works. It's delicious,
What's the
and it tastes
bluest
like
drink of all? That's what it is. Yeah. God.
Austin, can we read Lorenzo's email?
Who's?
Lorenzo?
Sure, go for it.
Sure, let me just pull this up here. Because Lorenzo's brought this up a couple times.
Oh, yes. This our Lorenzo. Motherboard's Lorenzo.
So Lorenzo writes, Hola Waypoint friends, first time writer, long time listener. Can you please explain, and this has come up multiple times in the Slack, so like this is actually really bothering Lorenzo. Can you please explain to me why US Americans not only find it acceptable, but actually cherish and crave sandwiches made with multiple Italian cold cuts? I have seen deli sandwiches with 1 or 2 inches of salame, prosciutto, mortadella, and maybe 1 or even 2 more types of salumi. I'm okay with an abundance of meat, but if you mix them all, the flavors get mushed together and you can't tell what you're eating anymore. Also, if you put something like salami or chorizo, then they take over the whole thing. Why? What is the point of this? Please help me understand this bizarre tradition. I've been thinking about this a lot for a couple days.
Okay.
I just think Lorenzo's palate isn't very refined.
Oh
you
my
can't
God,
pull
you're gonna
apart
get
all these
punched in the
different
face,
tasting
and
notes.
I'm gonna agree with Lorenzo. I'm gonna hide the body. You don't. Okay. There are fights you don't take, but go ahead, Rob. At least Rob has an answer instead of just an insult.
Okay. So I think there's a couple things. One is that the United States generally, I don't think, has a really good deli meat tradition that's like homegrown necessarily. Like a lot of supermarket deli meats, like there's a lot of smoked turkey and a lot of like really under seasoned hams that are really load bearing elements in a lot of sandwiches. So a lot of people started the way you would make these sandwiches interesting. And I definitely had this arc. Like the first time I had like nice deli meats, I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know this existed until I was a teenager. Because for me, I've been like, it's turkey, it's ham, and maybe a really underwhelming salami compared to what's possible out there. But so you take these like kind of bland meats, but you can sure get a lot of them. And then you start adding in like these more flavorful meats, and they sort of like, they do take over the whole thing. They make kind of a cheaper and boring sandwich feel plentiful and abundant and interesting. One of the other things, and I think this is sort of a parallel thread, is that as Americans, a lot of us are conditioned to view consumerist conceptions of choice as freedom and like plenty. And so like the notion of I'm expressing what I want by describing the sandwich, that I'm just going to start grab bagging all these different varieties of meat on top of it. And like now this is my own creation. This is my favorite kind of sandwich. And I think that is in tension with any sort of respectful tradition where it's like, no, this is the flavor of this meat. This is the characteristic it has. Like a lot of us are conditioned to and marketed to view just abundance and superficial choice as the good life. And so the idea of
where do we go from that to layering the choices as being preferable to choosing
bourgeois aspiration?
I see.
Like especially like when you talk about like these nice these stacks of like now nice Italian deli meats.
Yeah. It's
like, okay, so you're a sophisticated, you've passed the exams that David Brooks didn't think you could. You know what prosciutto is.
Yeah,
you know what mortadella is. You know all the Italian meats.
Yeah.
But what is better to show that you've arrived than stacking them all on top of each other? Like, pictures of those like giant stacks of pastrami sandwiches that people are like, that's New York, baby.
Yeah.
Like, make that for yourself, but with Italian deli meats. Now you're a sophisticated sandwich eater. And it's like, behold my affluence. I have filled the sandwich with charcuterie.
So why don't we think it tastes bad?
Because it tastes good.
It tastes good.
This is the thing.
But Lorenzo's right. We also aren't trained to appreciate
That's
the
right.
nuance because a lot of our palates were shaped by really boring deli meats.
Palates are shaped is the answer, right? That like
Sure.
the reason that you can, if your palate is trained well, you could go into an Italian deli and like really understand the differences between all these meats and like how they land differently on your tongue and the way what you could pair them with in terms of cheeses or even breads to bring out something else is something you learn through being raised on them and understanding the distinct taste difference and taste profiles of each. And this is not what we've done. And
having the
these
good
are all
stuff
spicy
available.
and good. Yeah. Mhm.
Where it's like someone's like, hey, I've got a really nice cheese to go with that.
Right.
And you're like, damn, like it turns out this like, slice of really nice salami and this particular cheese, like that's incredible. I could just eat that all day. Whereas a lot of us were kind of like, all right, the Pepperidge Farm bread, slap a little Grey Poupon on there, and how do I stack on top of this? This to me is
This is class.
Deli eating.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've leveled up from Wonder Bread to Pepperidge Farms. Feels like yes. Now I'm making the wise and educated choice here. I think that's it. I think it is about not having that acculturation to other types of deep flavor profiles. And listen, there's trade-offs there, right? Like I'm grateful that we live in a world or I'm grateful that I live in a city that is filled with cuisine from all over the world and that I can be a sort of I'm not a connoisseur and instead I'm a dabbler. You know what I mean? Like I can go to any type of restaurant from anywhere, anywhere in the city that represents various places in the world and like find something. Oh yeah, that sounds good. And that is not going to lead me to have a deep knowledge of Ethiopian food. But if I go to an Ethiopian place, it's like, oh yeah, here we go. Let's go with this. And that is the choice I guess I've made with my adult life is to be a dabbler. I got one more here. Actually, I got two more here. Let me read this question this email that's titled Rob's World of Honey, the Dark Truth from Tyler, who says, hey, Waypoint folks, let me tell you about some out there honeys. When I met my last partner, they were working at the honey shop Rob mentioned. Saying that there is a world of honey sounds like a joke, but after moving in together, I learned the dark truth. Honey's color, flavor, and texture can all vary by location, season, plant that pollen was collected from, and essentially every variable under the sun. This leads to every jar being a little bit different. Most people won't realize this because supermarket honey is heated for easier packing. This process destroys any unique characteristics the honey previously had by turning it into a simple syrup. The dark truth about people who are deep in that honey game is that they'll hoard jars until the end of time. It's like living with someone who can't justify throwing out the shampoo bottle. They'll add a little warm and boom, you've got tasty drink. Or they'll let the that honey age into crystallized rock candy. When we moved, there was a box filled with more honey than all of the dishes in the kitchen. On a happy note, that place, Follow the Honey, is still open. It looks like they're doing well between in-store and online shop. And then there's a link here to some stuff of all the different stuff that honey is used for. Y'all want to get high? There's honey for that. Y'all got major burns? There's honey for that too. That's wild. Why is there honey for burns? Did we know this? I believe the honey gets you high. That makes perfect sense to me.
Sure.
But apparently there's an article here from the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institute of Health, up-to-date use of honey for burns treatment. Great. Good to know.
Is there like bee spit enzymes in the honey or something? Maybe.
That sounds like a thing we could.
I mean,
pretend
burns are treated like with a mix of topical ointments and like wrappings, right? Like that's basically it. So I'm sure there's some honeys with some good stuff in there for skin recovery.
Yeah, why not? Sure. Final question today comes in from Mike from Minneapolis. After the further discussion of fortune cookie etiquette, I thought I'd mention my weird food quirk. The colors in a standard pack of M&Ms have gone through several changes, originally consisting of red, yellow, violet, green, and brown until the late 1940s when violet was removed and replaced with tan. Red was removed in 1976 due to the dye being used being a suspected carcinogen and replaced by orange. Red rejoined the pack in the mid-'80s with a new dye, and from the 80s to the 95, the colors consisted of red, yellow, green, brown, orange, and tan. In 95, they replaced tan with blue. Since 1995, I refuse to eat blue M&Ms as a form of protest against the removal of tan. If I have a pack of M&Ms, I will eat all of them except for the blue ones, leaving them in the pack and offering them to anyone else I may be with before finally throwing them away. Yes, this is wasteful, but some forms of protest must be extreme. If there's an instance of a bowl of M&Ms, I will pick out one by one any of them except the blue ones. I understand that there is no flavor difference between any of the colors, and that having both tan and brown makes little sense. But from the ages of 3 to 13, I knew of tan and refused to change. Does anyone else have any form of food protest they participate in? Nothing like this.
No.
You got to eat the blue ones.
I knew of tan.
What do you mean, no?
You have to honor the troops. Bring back the tan M&Ms.
Why aren't you fighting for violet?
Salute our flag.
What happened to the violet? Why not this heat for the violet, which was replaced by tan to begin with? Tan was already a replacement. Tan was the first replacement. I'm putting out. I'm digging into the ancient conspiracy thing. I'm gonna make a flag that has. This is too dark. I'm not doing the thing I was going to say, but if you know, did you know, is this the venue to say that I grew up not knowing that the POW MIA flags were a conspiracy theory? I didn't know this until recently.
I don't think most people do. I do not think that is common knowledge.
It's not. I don't think it is.
What?
So explain to people what the conspiracy theory is, because you still see that often flying below an American flag.
100%.
Where it's like respect to the troops.
Respect to the troops. Well, like that's the thing is you get in on the respect to the troops of Vietnam, but the conspiracy theory, as I understand it, is that there are still troops out there caught up in POW camps.
Yep.
But
that's why
not
it's the POW MIA flag.
That's the POW.
So,
right. Yes, correct. But that's not true.
No. The entire conspiracy theory is that as part of the agreement to withdraw from Vietnam, the United States sold out.
Right.
So there's like layers of stabbed in the back myth that surround Vietnam. One is that Creighton Abrams had the war won by 1972, and that the NVA was defeated. And the other is that in part of that like peacenik push, Richard Nixon, notorious peacenik.
Of course, huge. Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I could absolutely believe Kissinger would do this. So like there is like I would not put this past this motherfucker, but it just makes no sense that this would happen. But as part of withdrawing from Vietnam, they never recovered the prisoners who'd been taken by the NVA. And so people who were listed as missing in action, they weren't like just lost or like killed on some battlefield and their bodies never recovered. They were consigned to the rest of their lives being in communist gulags in Vietnam, because it was just more convenient to forget about them. And then Rocky 2 basically endorses this. Not Rocky,
Rambo. Right. Yeah. Rambo does this. Right. I was like, Rocky, Rambo. The other Stallone.
In my head, I actually didn't realize there were two different franchises. And I was like, damn. So after getting out of that that one horse town and fighting those police, he became the champ.
Prize fighter, yeah. American hero. And, both of those series do include him fighting communists, right? So, I mean, that's how this goes in the long run. God. Anyway, my joke was going to be about the POW flag, but with the violet M&M, and that's why I was like, is that too far? That might be too far.
Fuck that flag.
But fuck that flag.
Yeah. And people see, I don't even think most people flying it really know that it's like a radical right wing. Like they genuinely think
they don't know. Yeah. They think like, shout out.
The implication of that flag is always that they're still. This is why, like, the sad little silhouette with like a guard tower in the background. It's like, think about all those people we've like forgotten. The irony, of course, is that the United States basically does run those camps,
yes,
and so like black site prisons are a thing. But anyway,
can we get a counter flag for all of the people? This is the thing is like, I wouldn't flying the counter flag would be, in some ways, just agreeing that that is my ineffectual politics. Is I put a flag out in front of my apartment, and that's it. That's all I'm doing for the people behind bars, baby. Fuck that. That's no good either.
I like the holiday M&Ms. They just feel like Christmas to me.
They do feel like Christmas.
Like they just make me happy. I'm like, look at those two fun little colors.
My dog once ate. I don't have a dog anymore. Unrelated,
but not because of this.
There was a situation where M&Ms, Christmas M&Ms were disappearing during the holidays. The holiday M&Ms were disappearing. And we were all like, there was a lot of like blame going around the house of like, all right, you're just blowing through these M&Ms, huh? Aren't you? And then we realized, no, it's the dog who's jumping up onto the high counter to eat these M&Ms. And we had to cover them up from then on.
It was, it took us a long time to realize our two Beagle Spaniel mixes were they're sisters. They would break all the rules when we left the house. So they're real good about like, here's the places we can't go when the people are around. But like, there was a day that like, I can't remember who it was who came back. I think it was my dad. Came back unexpectedly to get something he left behind, but he approached quietly enough that they didn't hear him approach. And so he walked in and they were standing on the dining room table. And it was sort of a softish wood. So like we couldn't figure out like they were clearly fucking it up somehow, but we didn't realize they just hung out up there all day long. But also like one time they got up there and they devoured an entire bag of chocolate candy. And man, these dogs really didn't prepare me for Mina because they just shrugged it off. Like they ate a ton of chocolate. No ill effects. Those dogs were fine. Meanwhile, like, Mina gets one thing that doesn't agree with her, and we're taking like an ER trip at 3 a.m, being like, hope she isn't dying. And the vet's like, no, she just has terrible gas. That's why your dog seems sad. She just needed to unleash an unholy fart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will just one thing about the Follow the Honey story though. Please. That story makes me suspect something. Sometimes when I used to frequent that shop more regularly, I sometimes had the feeling that I was competing with the staff of the store to get good honeys.
Oh, I believe that 100%.
Like, you'd come in and there'd be something that they were sampling because they did samples, and you'd be like, fuck, that's a good honey. But you wouldn't buy enough. You'd be like, it's expensive. I'll take it home. But you get home and it's still really good honey. And you're like, damn, I want a lot more of that now. And you go back and it's like, oh, we're just out. We sold out.
Sorry.
And
do you think
it was punitive?
Do you think that was a situation where they were like, yeah, you had a chance? You didn't take it. You didn't trust us that this was the good honey. So now it's ours.
I think there's
There was like a window where they have to go a day before they're allowed to buy the honey, and then you lost that day, and now they're allowed.
Yeah, and now it's back. Now it's back to like, well, we have some, blueberry honey from Vermont. If you want that, like that's back.
Like, I don't want that gimmicky shit. I just want the good honey.
Bring it back.
Bring it back. Where is it? Give me the honey. Everybody
a dark
needs
reboot
honey.
of Winnie the Pooh.
That's why they call it honey.
Shit.
I think we're done.
And we're done. That's a podcast. Thank you to everyone. Woo! Make sure you tip your servers. We'll be here all week. I hope everyone has a good weekend. If you see us around the ship, say hello. We don't bite. In this scenario, we're on a Waypoint cruise during a pandemic. You follow me on Twitter at @also_Walker. Where can people follow you, Kato?
At @A_Kato_appears.
Rob.
At Rob Zachney.
As always, you can follow us twitter.com/waypoint, waypoint.vice.com. You can go read Dia's review. Nier Replicant beautifully updates a classic oddity, but can't replace it. You can also read Mortal Kombat succeeded beyond its creator's dreams, just as they planned, by Patrick Klepek, an interview with John Tobias. Shouts to Bowen for letting us use the track Miss You off the EP Pale Machine. Find out more about that, waypoint.zone/BOEN. I think that's all the stuff I normally say. I think that's it. Gaming@vice.com is the email address. Send us more questions. We will do our best to keep answering them. I've been really happy with the flow of questions we've gotten lately, so let's keep that up if possible. I really appreciate it. All right. Have a safe weekend, everybody. We'll be back on Monday. Nope. Tuesday. We'll be back on Monday, but you'll hear us on Tuesday with more from Waypoint Radio. Until then, fuck capitalism. Go home. Peace. I did a peace symbol. I was like, peace. Dash the stampede.
Dash down, I was gonna say. You gotta cross your fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
And peace.
Rob identified a couple minutes. He can go rip a couple Blu-rays, add them to his Plex server.
That's the next step.
Well, yeah, that's what a lot of people like, because streaming services like the bitrate is so much lower than like local copies. So you rip a local copy, put it on your Plex server, and then you don't have to put a Blu-ray disc in.
Just surprised at having a piece of hardware that can.
Well, it's why Rob said the next step. It's what crazy people do once they've realized that they love a Plex server. I don't think anybody that runs a Plex server wouldn't then identify as like I'm a little next level. I think that's part of it. It's a badge of pride.
I used to rip shit on like my laptop that had a CD drive. I can't think
that's
of a
when it was a standard.
That's had a
now
CD
you have to buy
drive.
it. You have to buy an accessory now.
I mean, yeah, but I always make sure my builds have one.
Okay. Always prepared.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should get into this on the pod.
What do I even look? Do I look Blu-ray ripper? Like, what's even the term?
It's just a disc drive. The ripping part is all software. Just a Blu-ray disc. Like,
oh, it's only if you're rewriting that you have to have something dedicated.
Yeah. If you're like making new discs, you need to have a burner, which is a different piece of hardware.
Rewritable. That's right. Okay, now my 90s tech lingo is being unearthed from the back of my lizard brain.
What's going to be really tricky is ripping the 4Ks.
Yeah,
because those have
that's a lot of space, Rob.
Well, yeah, but those also have the HDCP copy protection. So, like the copy protection, however it works
on the disc,
HDCP is worse. It lives in the cable. Like HDCP compliant cables, like monitor both ends of what they're connected to, and will prevent things from like tapping into that signal.
So do you use a splitter? Is that
That's
usually
where, a splitter and the capture card are probably where that comes into play.
Because that's what you had to do with a PlayStation 3, like before you could like turn it off, was like just run it through. I have a splitter like explicitly for that purpose that I haven't used in years, but was to get around that. $100 for a Blu-ray drive, not bad. Oh, a BD XL drive. What's an XL? What defines an XL? Is that just it's a big one? Oh, burn speeds. Okay,
Burn speeds. That makes sense.
Oh, I haven't thought about
only
burn
160
speeds.
if you want that. If you want that extra, if you want the burn, you want to feel the burn. Just an extra 50. Come on, you're doing a Plex server at 150 is dropping the bucket. Let's go.
But how much did the server itself cost? Like, what did you drop on like hard drive space?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have movies on it yet, so I haven't really made that investment.
Oh, okay.
Right now, like I was just testing this out to see how soon I want to move to a NAS. So I'm just running it off my desktop right now.
So you're gonna be a new member of that Discord channel pretty soon. Like the one Discord channel that's just Will and Brad
Rob's
talking
been
to
in
each other.
there.
Has it?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, sure. He's been NAS curious.
Yeah.
That's right. You have been in there. You've asked
NAS.
questions about this like a year ago.
Yep.
The project is almost complete. We get to what are we?
Neon Genesis
coming
Avon
on?
Plexium.
That's right.
Mm.
Finally.
I can go to time.is.
Yeah, it's time for this.
Time.is.
Oh, it's Earth Day.
Yeah, I got some. We're gonna Jessica and I are gonna plant some things.
Nice.
She brought a plant home.
Wow. Wait, from where?
It's cool.
Oh, okay. Right.
She just found it.
She's found
Well,
it. She's
that
like,
also does
"This is
happen.
my
Sometimes
plant
she'll
now."
come home with a flower, and I'm like, Jessica, that's a real flower. Like, you can't just take that from like a neighbor's garden. It's pretty though. We'll put it somewhere. Can you tell me who you took it from, so we can apologize?
So we can, yeah.
Those only come once a year, Jessica. I can't just put it back.
Yeah. 39 seconds. All right.